My name is Alja Burg. I'm a project manager at Adidas Design, and I'm here with Jithin from Mindtree.
My name is Jithin. I'm a senior consultant at Mindtree, and Mindtree is the preferred IT vendor for Adidas. And we are excited to be here at the Perforce Merge Conference 2014. I think what we've developed as a front end for Perforce is the most accessible solution for any sort of user. So from any background, if you're not technical, if you're right-brained, if you're creative, you could still use Perforce as a versioning engine. We hope that a lot of people start using it, and it's great.
It's my pleasure now to bring up our first presentation and also our next winner of the Versionary Awards, and this time it's in the most unusual file stored in Perforce. And this is from Adidas, or Adidas, depending upon what side of the Atlantic you're on. I think you'll enjoy seeing the innovative ways in which Adidas is using Perforce for the types of things that they are versioning. So please welcome to the stage Alja Burg from Adidas and Jithin Chacko of Mindtree, who's going to show you how they've used Perforce to create the digital platform for the right-brained organization.
So my name is Alja. I'm a project manager in design. I'm not like most of you a developer. I'm an industrial designer. And you might wonder whether Adidas has decided to create movies or maybe even start developing games. But no, we stick to shoes. But I think what I want to explain to you is that a platform like Perforce can also be used for creating shoes. I would like to give you an introduction of Adidas Design, and then Jithin will take over and go more into detail. So this is Adidas. I know most of you say Adidas, but I stick to Adidas if you don't mind. So it's an international sports brand, a very modern sports brand, but we have strong roots in Germany, and we have a great heritage, and it all originates from this man, Adi Dassler. He founded the company around World War II, and he is known for his passion for sports. All he wanted is the best shoe for the athletes. And here on this image, you see him with a shoe that, there's a nice story to it, is that this was used for the Miracle of Bern, in which the German national team was They were going to lose the game, but because of these miracle studs that he had in the shoes, they actually managed to win the game. So it's a very nice story. And in 1936, he went to the Olympics in Berlin, and he brought some of his shoes. He managed to get in contact with a young athlete whose name was Jesse Owens, and he offered to use Adidas' shoes, and he won 4 golden medals. And this is in London in 2012. This is Jessica Ennis. As you can see, the same shoe, but modern, more developed, a lot of new technology. And then, I don't know for who of you play football or soccer, this is the Copa Mundial. I think most football players start with the shoe. It's iconic. It's been developed in the 70s, and you can still buy it. And on the left side, you see 2 gentlemen shaking hands and wearing a funny mustache. And so this is now the Rio World Cup. Very successful for Adidas. We had 2 teams in the final, both Germany and Argentina. And of course, Germany won. And on the right side, you see the F50. That's the fastest, lightest model that we have right now. And again, you can see it's changed. It's become faster and almost more aggressive.
There's this really amazing thing that happens when a designer sits down with an athlete. The athlete is explaining what they need to do what they need to do in the season or within a game or a competition. And the designer is trying to achieve that. And it's things that have always been part of the brand ever since, even Adidas, this sense of observation and communicating an idea and listening and being observant and listening to the needs of our athletes.
So these are our designers. This is where it's all happening. This is Europe. Right in the middle of Europe is a very small village. It's called Herzogenaurach. And we call it Herzo, which is a lot easier. And this is where our head office are. This is how it all started. This is the first factory. And if you look in the lower, the left attic, that's where we used to have our development department, very inspirational attic with high ceilings and a very beautiful place. But now times have changed, and this is our head office. It's called Laces, the building. Inside there are a lot of bridges connecting the different departments, and they look like laces. A very beautiful modern building. And we have offices around the world, so in Herzo, but also in Shanghai and Tokyo, where we have creation centers that serve the more the Asian market. And here in the US, we have an office in Portland, and there's even a small office in Sao Paulo. So I would just like to take you through how we create a shoe, what's our process. And two things are really important, I think, here to talk about now is that designing a shoe is very craft-driven. A designer takes a pen and a paper and just starts drawing. Lots of hand sketches. They even take pieces of papers and start cutting. And every designer has his own way of starting. Another very important point is that there are a lot of iterations. So the example that I have here on the right side, you see 9 different variations of a shoe. But I think if I would have digged a little bit further, I would have come maybe with 50 variations of the same shoe. So it's a lot of iterations. It's not only the designer who makes the changes, it's also marketing who has a big influence. And even after the design is done and it's sent to the factory, there are changes. So I think, like every creative process, it starts with a marketing brief. And then the designer starts sketching. And here you see some examples. On the left lower corner is a designer who just took a piece of paper, almost like in kindergarten, and started cutting. And then, yeah, it's maybe a bit hard to see, but just above that, there's an existing shoe, and it's been taped, and then they start drawing on it again. You see a lot of sketching, and hardly anything digital yet. And then in the right lower corner, the pink thing, that's called the last, and that's where every shoe fit originates from. So after the sketchings, there's a review. Senior designers look at the design. Iterations are being made. Still sketches, you see materials are coming in, mood boards. And then there is a concept sign-off where the management of design and marketing come together and they look at the big picture, have all the shoes there and make sure that it has the Adidas signature as we know it. And after that, it's time for model making. And we have a model shop in-house, and in the lower right corner, you see a 3D rapid prototype of a shoe. Gives you an idea of what the shoe will look like, not what it feels, because it's a bit sandy. And more sketches, more drawings. You see it's already getting a bit more technical. This is the final gut check before it will send over to the factories. And here you see pretty accurate 2D drawings, both apparel and footwear. So here it's already getting more digital. And then the final step before it's handed over to the factory is what we call a design pack, where the designers put everything in Illustrator. that's the tool that we use for creating technical drawings. And that is something that I think has to change. The 2D, yeah, the 2D time is over. It's time for 3D. And so that's what we're going to do. And we, it might seem a bit strange, but I think everybody here in the room works 3D. Might seem a bit strange that a company like Adidas is introducing 3D, but actually there's no software out there that can create a shoe that looks natural. It's either for cars or it's for animation. And we still want to make that move, so we decided to create our own software. It's called Jithin, and it's based on Modo. And I'll show you a little clip. Very fast, but basically it's very simple. It allows designers to change the color of the shoe. So this is the first step, and we will, it's a 2-3 year program. We'll finally create a software where designers can really create a new shoe. And that wasn't my last slide. There we go. So the change from 2D to 3D, really, there is a need for a file management system. And I think I managed to explain that because of all the iteration, versioning is a very important part. 3D comes along with big files. So that's important for us. And then we have multiple locations. We want to make sure that the same file can be reached from every location that we work in. And so this is, for us, the reason to start looking into this platform, and we set ourselves 3 goals that we think are important. And one of them is automation, speed, collaboration, and versioning. This is where we start from. And automation, I think, is very important because industrial designers are not familiar with software, and they shouldn't have to learn new things. They shouldn't have to get extra work through it. And I think even for the future, we will be able to take even of the current workload off them with this tool. Speed, very important. We have 300 designers. They all have the same deadline. So they will start probably during the evening, during the night, uploading their final designs. So then speed should be really important. Collaboration between designers, marketing, the factories in China. And last but not least, of course, versioning. So this is, in a very nutshell, what Adidas Design does. This is how we create shoes. These are our goals, and these goals we gave to Jithin. And Jithin will explain you more how we managed to realize our goals. There you
go. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Alja. I think the cool part of the presentation is over. Now it's more text. I feel privileged to be here talking to you. My name is Jithin. I'm a senior consultant at Mindtree, and Mindtree is the preferred IT vendor at Adidas. So when Adidas Design came up with this plan to redesign their entire digital platform, the first thing that we had to do was to define the boundaries of the application. So the first thing that we did was take a look at the digital assets landscape. And if you see, there are clearly 2 parts to the whole flow of digital assets in Adidas. One is obviously the authoring part, where design and all its stakeholders lie. And this is where, in the beginning of every season, we have multiple seasons in a year. In the beginning of every season, the marketing team comes up with a plan of what they want to sell, what markets liked last time, and the design team goes on to make multiple versions of the shoe. There are multiple iterations. Then they develop colors, prototypes, and then finally, when the assets are ready, they get pushed into the publishing area, which is basically the domain of the digital asset management system, where it gets pushed out to all the consuming services like portals, e-commerce sites, catalogs, and so basically we've decided to focus on the asset development part of the digital assets management. And this is where, based on this, we came up with about 61 requirements that was across different sectors, like how functional, technical, and infrastructure, and all that. And based on this, these evaluation criteria, our research brought us down to 14 applications across platforms. We had solutions that were from the digital asset management space. We had enterprise content management systems. We had cloud-based file sharing services, and also software versioning systems. And as we got to evaluating it a bit more, we've cut down that to 5 core solutions that we really wanted to look at, and that we've installed physically in our local environments and ran POCs to test our different use cases. And obviously, you know who the winner of that was. It was Perforce. And what we really liked about Perforce was obviously the enterprise versioning capabilities were primary in that. But what we really liked was the active replication it had. And like Alja said, our design team is divided in many locations around the world. And we wanted to build this one community where they have one platform and everybody gets to access the same content. And last but not least, what we really loved about Perforce were its people. Right from the beginning of the engagement, people like Ralph, Tony, Alan, and Billy were always helpful in creating those use cases and telling us ways and means in which we could achieve our objectives in a clear and definite fashion. And that really helped us to identify use cases that were not visually clear to us in the beginning. And so once we started with Perforce, the first thing that we did was to set up the whole infrastructure. And this is how Perforce looks in the Adidas world. So we have our master server, which is in Herzo. And then we have replication servers, which does active replication real time across the major creation centers in Portland, in Shanghai, in Tokyo. This connects about 900 of our core design stakeholders. So this was part of the problem. And so from a backend perspective, it was solved by creating this network of infrastructure. And the second challenge that we had was our users. And our users are mostly right-brained people who don't care if it's a versioning system or if it's a file sharing system. They just want it to stay out of the way. And they wanted something which helps them achieve their creativity in a faster fashion. And because of that, we had to redesign the entire front end of Perforce to look something like this. So this is what we call our front end for the Perforce backend that we've created. It's called DESI. DESI is a short form for designers. And it is also an acronym which says designers empowered by sharing ideas. It is also a Sanskrit word which means community, and which was really what we were trying to do. We were trying to bring together these different communities of designers across our world together onto one platform and help them innovate and be creative all at the same time. And if you look at the UI here, you see that we've really moved out the whole complex nature of things in versioning, like branching and merging and stuff like that, and brought design front and center. So when a designer opens up DESI, all he sees is his designs and what he needs to do with them. And so while creating this front end, there were 3 major things that we focused on. One was the consumerization of versioning. What we mean by this is versioning even today is a more technical term. It is meant for software development. And we wanted to bring that concept of versioning away from software and be useful in a generic term for all of our users in Adidas. Obviously, the second part of that was to make the usability factors much more generic to a non-technical crowd. And the third thing is exploration, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the slides. And so how this was achieved is Desi is powered, the front end is created by Xcode. The back end is always, as always, it is by Perforce, which basically powers the entire application. We have Solar, which basically helps in the indexing of assets, and ImageMagick for rasterization of images. So what I mean by consumerization is, if you look at the entire file sharing solutions all around the world, the most easiest of them to use would be the cloud storage systems, where you can just practically drag and drop things and it's shared to somebody else around the world. But obviously, something so simple like that has its limitations, which is basically you can delete anybody else's files, there is no control of anything, and it is really difficult to manage at an enterprise level. And that is where Perforce, which is at the far end of core enterprise applications, which basically provide us with world-class versioning and management of large files like the 3D files that we plan to use in Adidas, and also permissioning, the ability to really focus on what the users want to see and what the users have permission to see. And so Desi comes in somewhere in between. So what we did was we created the experience of file sharing services that something like a Dropbox would provide with the enterprise capabilities of Perforce. So in terms of usability, when we talked to designers, the only thing that they said was, we asked them, how do you want your system? How do you want this new digital platform to be? And they said, it has to be like the Finder. No pressure, but it has to look like the Finder, that's it. Everything has to be as simple as that. And that was a real challenge for us, to translate the complex and enterprise level features of Perforce into a system which basically is an extension of a Finder. So what we have in Desi, we have like a watchdog which basically looks at the Finder, and anything that people drag and drop into the Finder, it gets automatically added. And you can, there's something called as a pending changes, where you can double click on a file and it gets automatically checked out, and it's in your pending changes, and you have a one-click check-in. And also, the ability to have Command C and Command V to basically cut, copy, paste things from the depot onto your workspace, from anywhere, from the depot to your desktop and stuff like that. So everything that the Finder could do, we've tried to replicate it in this visual tool. There's a short video which basically shows a very simple thing of showing multiple versions. And if you see, you have a design, you have an AI design tool there, and how we display versioning, a simple thing like displaying different versions is through a visual timeline, and you could basically browse through that and take actions on each versions. And can you play the video, please? So you right-click and go to versions, and then it opens up a different panel, and people can use their mouse or so on to browse through the different designs and take actions on any of those versions. The final key point that we wanted to look at was exploration. And this is really important for design. Designers need to get inspired from nature, the work of others, and really to look at stuff that they can carry on or improve their current designs on. And so what we looked at, obviously the first one is active exploration, which basically means you go to a search bar and type for something, and Solar, the indexed files in Solar will come up. But what we were really proud of doing was things like the passive exploration, which is basically the ability for a user to tag a version and then somebody else who's basically highlighted that tag or favorited that tag can just browse through a structure and see the files that might interest him, because the ones with those tags will get highlighted. The third thing that we tried to do was the whole social aspect of exploration, which is basically the tags themselves are searchable again within our app. And also, if you like something, and if you like a set of things, if you want to share them with somebody, all you have to do is basically take a snapshot of that and say copy the URL, and then send an email to somebody else. And the minute they click on that URL, Desi automatically opens up and takes you to the whole stuff of things that you've really liked. And in this video, we will show you a quick workflow of everything that happens. So a user would double-click a file to check it out and open it in Illustrator. They would change things around and save it, and then when they're checking in, how do they create a tag is basically in the check-in comment, they write a hashtag on a word, and that becomes the tag of that version. And then somebody else could come in, like their boss, who says, okay, if you want me to look at something, just tag me in it. And when he's regularly browsing through the structure, he would see the files that he needs to look at. So here, there's double-clicking, and you checked it out. So this is pretty much what I can do in Illustrator. So I moved a file up, and you save the file. And what he can do a submit on the file itself, and there are things up on the top navigation where you can submit all the files. And it's not clear. We've written this is for you hashtag Simone, and if you see the Simone tag has come to that version of the file. And what Simone could have done is have his tag as a favorite. And if you see now, there is a blue tag along. And he could search for Simone, and he would find the same thing, the file coming up very easily. Thank you. So this is what we've done so far, and we're not finished. The thing that we want to really drive from this experience is to have design dashboards, a sort of project management tool for design. So this will work on top of Perforce again. So as a designer, when a designer comes in, what we want to show them is all the seasons that they're working on, all the designs that they're part of, and all the a timeline-based structure of when they're supposed to complete this, what is the status on this, has somebody made a redlining comment on it, what is the status of that comment. So a whole tool, something like Swarm, but for design. And if you see, and as you go up the hierarchy, if you are a category designer, as we call them, or heads of design groups, they could come in and see with their team and see what is the status of each person's work schedule and how busy he is, and really plan that out and execute it in a way that is the most efficient. Also, like I said, right now we are focused on design assets authoring, and we have this whole part called publishing, which is a very complicated processes that lie there. So what we want to do is we want to hide the fact that the designers have to do anything with that system. So once a design is ready, somebody would say hashtag what is called as a DMT system in our enterprise, in our landscape, is a merchandising tool where once designers is ready, they have to go there and manually upload stuff so that the product lifecycle management systems can take it forward and produce it, and the finalized images go into the digital asset management solution. So what we want to do is once a user is ready, we want to add actionable things on hashtags. So he can say, take this to DMT, hashtag DMT. And when that hashtag DMT is put in, we want to automatically rasterize the image, put it with the right metadata into the downstream PLM systems so that the users are totally ignorant of what happens from there on. So basically, connected to our entire digital product pipeline. And the final thing that we want to do and I mean this is a big thing, is to be able to version everything, right from our patent filings to our designs to all the sales reports to all the finalized product images, and to our libraries, everything. We want to be able to have one system which could do all this, and we are very hopeful that, and we are very sure that Perforce will help us achieve this dream of basically being able to version everything in Adidas. And that is my presentation. Thank you.